My name is Rahul Sharma. I've been in the corporate America for 20 years, transforming people, transforming leaders, and ensuring that people who wants to move to the next level, they take steady steps. It's all about taking steps. We all may be great individuals, but if we have to the next level, we have to work as one team.
Ever wondered what it's like to have an offshore team working for you right here in the Philippines?
I work with a Canadian client. Nesda provides me everything from workstation, a stable internet, and HR support, and a team that feels like family.
Working with Nesta's workforce outsourcing team is fast-paced, exciting, at times challenging, but that's exactly what makes it rewarding. It's an opportunity to collaborate with people from diverse culture, gain new knowledge and skills, and be part of a team that supports clients across the globe. We are Nesda Workforce Outsourcing.
Thinking of expanding your global team? Email us at contactus@nesdaglobal.com.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Climb, the Confident Leader podcast, where we share stories of leaders moving from invisible to becoming an influencer. I'm your host, Rahul Karan Sharma, and today I have an amazing friend coming in from Florida. He has been in the staffing world for over 10 years, worked with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, as well as a large and mid-sized organization in the various markets in the US. He has become an icon in this field. He built his expertise in this field. One of his key establishment was to grow the Jacksonville market on his own. And that was a very pivotal moment for him that really moved him to become who he is today. He holds a bachelor's degree in business administration, concentration in marketing, an MBA in finance from Liberty University. Fluent in 3 languages, English, Portuguese, and Spanish. He has the privilege of working with large recruitment firms, and he became the top producer, the President Club winner for a national consulting firm. He has moved markets successfully for companies in Latin America and Europe to US through his change management and project management initiatives. He's a fitness enthusiast, a foodie, and a Formula One fan. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the CEO and the executive partner of HR Exchange, Mr. Gonzalo Guillen, to our show. Welcome to our show, Gonzalo. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. That was a great intro, man. It gave me a lot of smiles, man, and a lot of positive energy as well, too. So thank you so much for the introduction. I really appreciate that.
Very good. I think you build your profile so well. It made my job easy. And as you rightly mentioned, smile is contagious. So
that's right.
I'm sure that will continue towards our discussion.
That's correct.
So Gonzalo, when I was reading your bio and when I was doing my research on you, you have done so many amazing things in such a short span of time. Please enlighten our listeners on your leadership journey.
Yeah, well, to start off again, thank you so much for inviting me into the podcast. I really appreciate this time to connect with you and your audiences as well, too. I grew up in a very interesting household. I was a very shy kid. I was not much into sales growing up. I actually was more into marketing, which is a part of sales, but I was much more, my brain was working more on the creative side. I had watched a movie by Mel Gibson called What Women Want, and he worked at a agency. Do you remember? He fell off in the bathtub and he got electrocuted, and then he started, hearing women's thoughts. But he used to work at a PR agency, and he had done like an ad campaign for Nike. And I was like, man, I want to do that for a living. So I ended up going to school for marketing, and I ended up doing marketing, and I started changing. I started evolving. I started coming out of my shell a little bit more. Then I graduate college with my marketing degree. It's the 2008, 2009 collapse, economic collapse, real estate, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. So it was complete chaos. The job market was terrible. I started taking these odd sales jobs, which little did I know, I was in admissions, I was working for profit schools, Kaplan University, where I had like a 26-page script and had to, if you were clicking like on a free iPod ad, I was the one calling you, convincing you to get a degree. So I did that for a little while. I was very good at it, but I didn't like it because I felt like I was too robotic. I was getting like 65-year-old people to go back to school. I didn't feel good about myself. I ended up leaving that. And then my mom and, well, a friend of mine that ended up getting a DUI, that was working at the airport, needed help with his resume and needed help finding a job. And I was like, yeah, I can help you with that.
Mhm.
At the same time, my mom was also looking for work. She had just graduated with her respiratory nursing degree, and I helped her with her resume. And I also started getting her out to hospitals. And I was telling myself, wow, I really enjoy doing this
Yeah.
thing. Why not just get paid for it? And so, just by the stroke of luck, I ended up applying for a marketing role through Robert Half International for one of their clients. And when this lady, Nadine, a staffing manager there, she's been there for years, she had called me and she said, wow, you sound really good over the phone. Would you ever consider recruitment? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I would love to
Uh-huh.
potentially do this for a living.
Wow.
Showed me around the office. Next thing you know, I'm hired. Robert Half is a very interesting company. They throw you into the fire. They're like, okay, watch me. Now you're going to do that, and I just started picking up the phone and I was really good at it. And they what I like about Robert Half is they put you to do recruitment first, but then they put you to do sales. So it's like a 2 week recruitment, 3 week sales. And I really learned the art of cold calling and calling companies and really just doing it the old school way, the phone,
Wow.
the phone way. And I
Yeah.
got really good at it. And then I ended up doing training and I ended up progressing at a very fast pace. Years later, then I end up moving into a smaller firm where I have a little bit more flexibility of opening up business lines and not just doing, I started out doing temporary work, consulting work. So I was placing the bottom of the divisions of Robert Half. They call it office team because you would get a call from a client and they would say, I need a receptionist within an hour. And I had to, call, and it was very low margin. I wanted to make more money. So I ended up going to a smaller company called Ascendo Resources. They were a smaller firm at the time. Now they've gotten bigger
Mhm.
and nationwide. They have offices everywhere. And I was one of their top producers there. And that's where I really learned more the direct hire, accounting, finance, working with
Mhm.
private equity firms. And that same company then said, okay, you're doing a great job. Why don't you open up a market? So I got the privilege to open up a market with a mentor of mine that taught me a lot of things in business named Ruben. And we ended up going to Jacksonville, Florida. We ended up developing the market. And then years later, I was like, hey, you know what? I think I can do this on my own. And
Mhm.
I took a little time off because I had a non compete and then went at it and hit it hard. I started calling private equity firms and I found my niche with ultra high net worth individuals and companies that do development, construction, and flip to asset management. Going through my MBA program, I learned a lot about waterfall calculations. I learned business as a whole. So I really felt that my journey, as I kept developing, I gathered more information, which there was a huge need and vacuum in the market that a lot of recruiters didn't know about. And that was the private equity family office space. And we knew it pretty well. So that's the target market that we ended up going after. And we've
Wow.
developed the company pretty well and we're still growing. We have our pains as business owners, but
Uh,
it makes you stronger, it makes you better, and I'm glad that I'm going through this whole entire journey. So it's been
Awesome.
an interesting ride for sure.
Very good. And that very inspirational as well. When you were sharing your story, it comes to my mind that if there is a calling for you,
Yeah.
if there is a path that is already been designed for you by God, no matter what, He will make some changes in our life that we will be able to go to that path. So thank you for sharing the journey.
Very much so. Very much so, because even the odd jobs that I had before,
Mhm.
as a missions rep, and all those little things ended up preparing me for I didn't know at the time was to
Yeah.
come. So I found it to be a huge blessing for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Gonzalo, I also come from the staffing and recruiting background, and most of my listeners and well-wishers are coming from that industry, and they will be listening to this podcast. When I was doing my research on your website and on you, there was one thing that struck to me. You mentioned confidence comes from preparation and authenticity, not perfection. Confidence comes from preparation and authenticity, not perfection. My audience, they are people who want to do more, lacking confidence for whatever reason, specifically in the staffing industry. Please tell us how we can build that confidence where we can just make things happen.
Through failure. That's the best way. Remember, I was telling you, Robert Half. Honestly, they don't put you into any training program as big as, I don't know how it is now, but back then, being a Fortune 500 company, you would think they would put you through a training program. No, they would want to see how you would react to adversity. And so they would put you there. They gave me a list of companies that they used to work with, but they no longer work with. And my job was to call all 125 companies back to back to back. And I would get a lot of no's, but out of 8 no's, I would get a maybe or a yes. And I think adversity, failure, we don't see it at the time on the short end. It's like, oh man, why me, or why am I going through this? But as I'm getting older, I'm learning that in life, pain is a good thing. Pain is what allows you to grow. Without pain, without suffering, without adversity, you can't grow. And so adversity allowed me to be much more extroverted. It allowed me to realize that I'm here as a recruiter. We're here to serve others at the end of the day. And my philosophy is I want to make my clients special. Anybody that I meet, I want to make sure that I treat them like they're the Saudi prince. I want to treat them with respect, like royalty. And for me, I'm a believer in God. So my God came here to serve. I'm here to also serve as well too. So I have that mindset. So that mindset came through just trial and error. And I'm kind of glad that looking back, I mean, I'm so happy that I went through everything that I went through, because if not, I would have never learned. I'm happy that I got no's. I'm happy that I got hung up on 20 times. It would bring me down, but then it would also get me excited when I would get the yeses. And remember, in the staffing industry and recruitment, where you make your money is in that 10%. You're failing 90 to 95% of the time. It's in that 5 to 10% realm where you make your money. So for me, it comes very naturally because I love connecting others. I love helping others out as well, which is why recruitment is very much a good industry for a guy like me, because I do like serving others at the end of the day. So
Absolutely. You're the second person where I'm hearing pain is good. But before I go on that point, so one of the ways for how we can build your confidence is failure. And as per Gonzalo's story, also fail fast. You fail fast, you learn fast. Coming back on that, pain is the good thing. So the first time I learned about it, Gonzalo, it was from a physician come speaker, and he was sharing about it. He mentioned that the pain is good because when you know you are having a pain, it is actually telling you you have a symptom of something. And then you will have an ability to cure it. Similarly, in our business, when we are having a pain, that pain, when we find a solution of that pain, that really makes a difference. So pain is not always bad. So you are the second person, and I'm now learning to believe that yes, pain is good. At least it let us know the symptom.
yeah. To piggyback off that, I'm very much into personal development, and one of the things that I'm learning is the cave I fear to enter is the treasure that I seek. So I've learned that with people, and especially me. Look, I had very recently I went to Mar-a-Lago where Trump lives. It was a big conference, and I'll be very honest. There's many things I have to work on. One of them is public speaking. And I get embarrassed sometimes. And not that I get embarrassed, but I get nervous. I get anxiety. I have anxiety speaking in front of a lot of people. We're in a room of 300 CEOs in this room. And I said, you know what? I'm going to speak up. I ended up speaking up. Again, the cave I fear to enter is the treasure that I seek. And yeah, the speaker didn't, gave me horrible feedback. But you know what? I sat down with confidence. I'm glad that I did it. The next time I do it again, it's going to be even better and better and better and better.
Absolutely.
So that for me is what's going to make me to the next level. It's going to get me much more, the fear, the cave I fear is the treasure that I seek. It's going to give me the treasure of do better public speaking.
Absolutely. I think, and we know that when you do things on a regular basis, continuous basis, consistent basis, that's when the progress happens. And
Yes,
so you talking about public speaking, continuously speaking, consistently speaking, that will make a difference.
that's right.
We were talking about pain earlier, and you also have been fortunate to work with companies moving from one country to another. And
Yes.
whenever an organization is going through that kind of a transformation or a change, there are a lot of growing pain. You must have seen all these leadership team evolving under pressure.
Yes.
From your experience, what separates those who grow under pressure versus those who fall short? What are your inputs and your suggestions?
Well, one of them is, I'll give you a good example. I ended up moving a company from Ireland to Texas. They were a marketing digital company, and they had the hardest time culturally fitting in, to the
Hmm.
American way. So one of the things that I notice companies that do move from one country to another is they struggle sometimes, bringing in not only their culture but adapting to a new way of doing things in this country. Had another company out of Colombia that moved to Miami, and they thought that they could do business just like they did in Colombia. Come to realize that some of the profiles that they were looking for were completely different in this market in Miami than in Medellin, Colombia.
Hmm.
So it was my job to basically educate them, and sometimes they're a little bit stubborn, and when they'll give me certain searches and they're not realistic, and
Uh-huh.
they'll give it to like three other agencies and they realize that I was right, they end up coming back to me. But
Uh-huh.
so what makes a company successful is it's making sure that they have the right company culture, being employee centric, not being stingy at all, paying employees their fair a fair salary that it's commensurate to their experience. Sometimes a lot of the companies that do that, they try to save, they just think of the cost cutting, but they're not thinking of the human capital and how that's going to help them save money in the future,
Hmm.
especially when it's accounting, finance, or any operational roles. The other thing too is a lot of companies that end up failing are the ones that don't have metrics and don't have a 30, 60, 90-day, 120-day plan to execute. A lot of companies, to my big surprise, that revenue very well come in without, having some sort of plan. They just go in there and they're like, okay, we're going to figure it out. We're just going to hire, we're going to throw money at the problem. And then they come to find out that that was probably the wrong decision. And then they end up wasting money. And then it could create a very toxic environment as well. So it's having that fine line as well. What I think has worked before in the past is getting maybe the general manager from Colombia, let's just say, but then getting a counterpart here in the U.S. as well too, that can work very well together and set standards, set the tone for the right culture. If you don't have the right culture, it does make it rather difficult. Now, the last couple of years has made it even more difficult, even for my business, to be fully remote. I've
Hmm.
noticed that there's a trend of companies bringing their employees back into the office because it does. It makes a lot of sense. It sets the tone. You're able to communicate with people. And for those out there that really love remote, um, it's nice, but at the end of the day, if you're looking to grow, you're going to grow a lot faster in an organization going to the office, meeting with the executive team, meeting with hiring managers, knowing that base knowledge and being there within it. It's going to be much more beneficial. Too many kids are coming out of college wanting to work from home. I don't understand it. They don't have kids. They're young. They're vibrant. They should be out there,
Hmm.
putting themselves out there and working their butt off.
Sure.
So
No, I second that. I think when you work in an environment where you're meeting people, you learn. You learn about diversity. You learn about people, and as you rightly mentioned, meeting with the executive team, you never know what kind of projects you might get just because you have a discussion with your executive team member. Right.
exactly. Exactly.
And so culture is very, very critical, as you rightly mentioned. Uh, the irony we see in corporate world, Gonzalo, is yes, people want to build a good culture, but at the same time, they are also looking at those bottom line, those finance numbers that you were talking about earlier. So when you connect with these founders and C-level executives, what what advice you give them to build a culture which is people first?
It's a good question. So usually what we do is we go through a change management project where we review and assess what they're looking for, what their future is, what are they planning to do to hit the ground running and integrate themselves in the market. One of the ways to do that is to see currently who they have. Sometimes, a lot of the times, they already have they'll buy a company, or they'll have maybe a couple of people in a smaller scale already established here, and we evaluate and see if these people are looking to grow, because that's also part of the problem when you're hiring human capital and you're looking to grow, and you want process improvement oriented mindsets, meaning you want people that do like to solve a puzzle, that do love to implement systems and want to continuously change. The other factor is when companies want to grow and you have a mindset of, oh, I like it the way it is, and it bothers me if you're going to make any change, then that's going to create a really bad culture, because then whoever you bring in, and that's happening to me right now with an insurance company. They're trying to grow. They're a corporate entity that's trying to become more global. They're having the hard time because when they bring somebody in the accounting department, let's just say, the old regime is already telling them, "Ah, no, this is terrible. This is the way it was done before, and I'm not liking the new leadership." And it's already eating up in their brains. So what we do is we evaluate and audit basically their human capital, and we have to say, okay, this person can stay because they have this knowledge, or this person would have to leave. And what we do is we implement personality index assessments, PIs. I'm sure you know what that is. And a PI, basically, there's no right or wrong answers. You take the test or an assessment, and it tells you what kind of personality you are. Are you adaptable? Are you okay with change? Are you more steady? Are you passive? Those kind of answers really work. And I'm noticing more CEOs. I have a company that 3 years ago, I met the CEO. They're a $25 million distribution company. He gave me a business plan. He said, Gonzalo, I need your help because in 3 years, we're going to be a $70 million company. 3 years later, they're a $70 million company. And what did he do right? He had metrics, he had processes, and he hired the right person, the right people. I didn't believe in PIs until I met this guy. And swears by the PI, the CEO. And you know what? I got to give it to him because his company's doing well. They have very low turnover, and they tend to hire the right individual. So one of the things that you have to ask yourself as an owner is, who do I want to hang out with, in my personal life? That's the kind of personality that would probably, who can I have a beer with, but also help me with my business.
Sure.
That's what's going to work.
Yep. So I think inner circle. So that's I call them as my inner circle, people with whom you hang out on a regular basis because their energy is contagious, their mindset is contagious. They will, and they should be the ones who is not pulling you down. They're pushing you up.
That's right. That's right.
So great learning is a personality index. So make sure that leaders, when you are hiring your next team member, have them do an assessment. Make sure that they are fit for the culture rather than doing a skill assessment. There are certain skills they can learn, but there are certain things probably it will be difficult to change, which is the attitude, which is the mindset, right? So focus on that. And so, Gonzalo, I know from an organization perspective, HR Exchange, you and your team specializes in organizations who are undergoing transformation.
Yes.
So if we have a prospective client of yours listening to this podcast, can you enlighten him or her how you help those companies who are undergoing transformation, how you make things happen for your client?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we try to implement or instill with clients is we try to find out what their leaks are and how do we plug them by using human capital. So I'll give you an example. I do have a client right now that is restructuring their accounting and finance department. They're bleeding right now. They're throwing a lot of money into a consulting firm, and it's just not going to be sustainable for the long term. So for me is I look at, I want to get information. What has a consulting firm done? What else do they need? And what leaks have they found, right? And then I want to know what those leaks are. Based on those leaks is how I do my research, and I find somebody that's technical that can plug in those leaks in particular. Now, when you're dealing with process improvement oriented companies, they're always consistently changing, and there's always going to consistently, when they plug in one leak, then there's another leak. It's like a ship, you cover one hole and then another hole is spilling water as well too. So you start really putting the right people together. And what I'm finding is, at least with accounting and finance and operational roles, it's people that are data driven. You know how we're talking about the PI, and that gives you data. Not only a data driven personality, but somebody that has implementation experience And the one commonality that I'm noticing that people are hiring for in terms of technical skills, if you're an accountant, finance, or in operations, and you don't know this program, Power BI, Tableau, Power BI, Tableau. These are dashboards, data sets you can implement. You could use these tools for better reporting and for implementation of systems within your department. And that's the name of the game. The kind of individual that's going to do very well in the market in the next couple of years is one that's very data driven, systems driven, and AI driven. And that doesn't matter if you're in IT, accounting, finance. I think it's across the spectrum, even recruiters. If we don't understand certain tools for our industry and our business, we will get left behind. We will. I mean, and we're starting to, at least me, I'm starting to see companies. Remember back then, HR departments used to be 8, 10 people deep. Now it's 1, 2 people. And so they're using what happened after COVID is it became a frenzy. There was a lot of hiring, and then now there's a lot of firing. The last 2 years, you notice like the bigger companies like Cisco, they're letting go of a lot of employees. They're cutting the fat basically, and that's because they're getting better with technology, and companies are trying to find ways to utilize technology because it's harder to find quality talent. It's become that way. So it's getting companies on the mindset of like, let me throw more money into technology, into processes, into systems, so I don't have to rely on individuals. So that's what I'm saying. The individuals that are going to merge out of this in the next couple of years are the ones that have those 3 key factors. And those are the 3 key factors that I look and ask when I connect with a company. Are you data driven? Why aren't you data driven? What systems do you have? QuickBooks. But wait, you're a $200 million company. How are you running on QuickBooks? So I have to ask you, what's your month end close? 17 days? That's unsustainable. How do we make it better? What can I do to help you to make it better? Why don't we get an accounting manager that has experience implementing these systems? What's the plan? And then, the right person, the right employee should be guiding the owner or owner operator as to where they need to go. If it's the other way around, didn't Steve Jobs set a quote like that? I only hire people that tell me, what to do.
People than me, hire smarter people than you.
Right. That's the right mentality. I think the companies that end up failing and end up being stagnated are the ones that are stuck in the past and are stuck in 20th century way of practices. That also includes the interview process. Sometimes these interview processes are 8 steps deep. I have a client that does and this is a really good one for any company. Don't just have the prospective employee meet the hiring managers. Have them meet the team. So I have a private equity firm that was looking for a senior accountant, and they saw the CFO, the CAO, the controller, the AP, AR specialist, the staff accountant, the senior accountant, all in one room. And they were trying to see the energy. And you know what? They have very low turnover. So have the team and the team will feel special about it too. It's like, okay, this is we're bringing in somebody into the pack. Make it much more like a family thing. It works like a charm.
Absolutely. And back in 2007 and 8, Gonzalo, there was a moment where we hired an entry-level talent, and he made a condition. He said, before I accept the offer, I want to work for 1 day in your company. And I was taken aback that, hey, I've never heard about it. And that to an entry-level talent, and all sort of thoughts started coming to my mind. But then another thought came to my mind, and hey, why not? I have nothing to hide. I have an amazing culture. And if this individual comes and if he is able to make his mind positive towards my organization, then he will be there for good time. So we made that happen. And then the person became one of the top performer, been with us for almost like 3 to 5 years.
You go.
Became an icon in his recruiting space. Also, late last year, there was a client who came to me for similar challenge, the interview process that you were talking about. And I am a big believer of meeting with the team, a big believer of meeting with in-person meeting more than the Zoom. One input I gave to them, Gonzalo, and probably it could be effective for others as well, is have someone who has no direct interest with that candidate interview. So, for example, typically what happens is if I am a prospective candidate, I meet with people whom I will be reporting to or his or her super manager. Now, these people whom I'm meeting, they have a vested interest because they need to fill the position. I'm not saying all the time they will be just hiring people who may not be great, but sometimes under pressure, they may choose to hire a person who may not be the right fit. So
Mhm.
I suggested to this company is have someone interview who has no vested interest with this team or with this individual. And, last week I was in the chambers meeting. I was just having conversation, and they shared with me that it has really made a difference in the way they used to hire people. So
That's good.
sometimes these tiny things really makes a difference, and it definitely you need to see what works for your organization because there are many ideas available, but you need to see how it works for you.
I believe it, and to your point, I'm noticing the workforce, the new generation, they want to feel that they're part of something as well too. So the more you get to involve them in certain things, it helps. It helps with the culture. It helps people feel important. And at the end of the day, I don't care who you are, you want to feel special. You want to feel like you're part of something. You don't want to feel like you're a number. And I think that's where the bigger companies miss the mark. They treat
Absolutely.
too much like numbers, and that's why you have the high turnover. That's why you are spending X amount of money, continuously to hire somebody. And I think once a lot of companies, once they realize that it's just other human beings and they just want to be treated like a human being,
Mhm.
things end up changing. Now, I also understand the other side. A market like Miami, for instance, it can cause, you have people that are not too friendly and they're going to take advantage of you. And that's why it's important that, like you said, you have other people that don't have vested interests to meet with them, because sometimes you're right, they're able to spot the red flags. They're able to spot the red flags that maybe you don't see because of your own biases. At the end of the day, we're perfect human beings. But that's why the data, the PI, having enough data, it's always a good thing. The name of the game here is minimizing the risk, because you're hiring a person, you're not hiring a product. And so when you're hiring a person, it's not 100% sure of what you're getting. So you want to do everything possible to minimize the risk.
Absolutely. And you are just resonating the thoughts that is coming very common with all my guests coming from the corporate world is many organizations are seeing employees as just a number. Uh,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
those who are making a difference is treating employee as a human and not just a commodity. On that note, Gonzalo, my company Steady Steps, we are focusing on a very key initiatives where the training programs or the learning development programs should not be one size fit all. It has to be more one fits one. And we have developed a client framework where we have noticed that in any leader's journey, they go through these four stages, which is being invisible, having a potential achiever, as well as becoming an influencer. We believe that when person is in individual is in that particular stage, we need to provide the training that will help him to come out from that stage. Now, my question to you is based on your experience, how familiar these stages are when someone is navigating their leadership journey in the corporate world?
Yeah, it's very common. I've seen it a couple of times now. I will admit it. I'm more in the accounting and finance space, so sometimes you'll place somebody looking really good and fit, and years later, when they've done all this, they're not that good looking and fit. They've been burnt out, and that's mainly accounting and finance. You're dealing with numbers and things like that, but it's nice. A lot of the clients that I have are people that I placed that when they were senior accountants and then they became CFOs, and I'm very proud to see that, because I see that their communication skill, there's something about C-level executives that if you're able to communicate, if you're able to be a storyteller, if you're good at storytelling, usually you'll get a lot of the higher end jobs that are 200, 300, 400,000. But from the outside, I've seen them, and I myself have gone through my own journey where I have gone through all that. We mentioned
Mhm.
failure a little bit
Yeah.
earlier as well too, and continuously improving yourself. The main thing is, what I've learned is to not be hard on yourself, to just, if God has a purpose for you, as you mentioned it earlier, it'll be. I've learned to trust the process, to let just God lead as
Yeah.
opposed to me driving all the time. And yeah, going through all that adversity, it's a good thing, because the way you influence others is just based on experience and failures. If you've always had it good and life has been good, it's harder to explain that to people, because a lot of people have a hard time a lot of the times. And at the end of the day, it's mindset, and it's rewiring your mind. It's a
Yes,
very interesting
absolutely.
question. Yeah.
I'm glad that these stages resonated with you, and that's where the climb framework, the C comes in. Gonzalo, is cultivate your mindset. When you were talking about rewiring the mindset, I was just laughing because yes, that is what it is: cultivating the right mindset.
Yes.
Well, I think the time is going too fast. But before I move on to the rapid fire round, we have a fun segment where people will get to know a lighter side of you, Gonzalo.
Sure.
Tell our audience how they can connect with you, how they can reach out to you if they choose to work with your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is hrxstaffing.com. We're going to change it pretty soon to hrxheadhunters.com, because I like that name a little bit better, headhunting. And you could reach me at Gonzalo at hrxstaffing.com as well too. And my number's on the website. Any questions that you guys have, and companies or individuals that would want some guidance. I mean, I've been doing this for 13 years. And as you know, in the recruitment industry, 1 year is like dog years. You see everything, you experience.
Absolutely. Now let's move to the fun round, rapid fire. 5 questions will be coming to you, Gonzalo. Would want you to answer without thinking too much. Okay, my friend.
Okay.
Your favorite quotation you live by?
I'm going to give you a Bible verse that's just coming to mind. Come to me, all those who are weary and heavily burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28.
Your go-to food you can eat anytime, anywhere.
Mexican food. I just, anywhere you travel, they always have it available. You could go to India, you could go to Greece. You're always going to have Mexican food. I love.
Absolutely. And that
Yes.
to a different flavor of that particular country.
That's right. That's right. But it's I love. I mean, it's funny. Mexican food. It comes in different forms, but it's the same thing. It's usually tortilla, beans, cheese, and protein mixed in different ways.
Absolutely. Gonzalo, are you a morning person or a night owl?
I wake up at 3:30 in the morning, and I'm at the gym at 4:30 every morning, except the weekends. So
So
Yeah.
morning person.
I'm a morning person.
Uh-huh. What's one leadership skill that you wish someone had taught you earlier?
Communication.
Communication.
Communication. Talking like a leader, rather than being passive. Hey, is this okay? But being direct and giving directives in a much more that's why C-level ends up doing very well. They know how to communicate that way.
Absolutely.
Communication.
Okay. Last one coming your way. If your career were a Netflix series, what would be the title of season 1 be?
Interviews are like dates.
Yes,
Because
that's a good one. That's a good one, and I'm sure it will get popular very soon.
yeah, instead of a romantic scenario, we'll make it like that, but it'll be for recruitment. You know what I mean?
Awesome. All right. I wanted to share as a ritual my learnings from the show. So there has been multiple golden nuggets that were dropped in by Gonzalo. The number one was people who want to build confidence. It's failure. Failure is key to build your confidence. Fail fast. And when you fail, the adversity gives all the learning to you. For building the culture, people first culture, focus on, for building the people first culture, focus on the culture. Culture aspect, be human, make sure that people priorities are on the top, use personality indexes to hire people, and be data driven, be AI driven, be system driven. These are the 3 skills as per Gonzalo are very, very critical for the future for any role, not just specific to IT. And last but not the least, do not be hard on yourself. That's something we all miss. We talk about caring, but we don't take enough care of our own self. Be soft on you. Do take good self-care. Again, Gonzalo, thank you for being here on our show, The Climb, the Confident Leader podcast. It has been amazing to learn about your journey and the amazing work HR Exchange is doing. Wishing you all the best, my friend.
Bro, thank you so much for everything. Many blessings. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you.